Meet Tony and Julian. They met a few years ago, and once they got past that awkward shake hands or fist bump stage, they found they really enjoyed working together. So, they decided to open a restaurant together. They've done pretty well, and then hired me to help them bring more money to the bottom line. For them, and for most, it all boiled down to learning how to calculate food cost. Tony and Julian had lots of questions, many of which I will answer in this module. I know food costing sounds all boring and math related. While there is math involved, it can be fun to manipulate the food in such a way that you ensure your restaurant makes money. We will break the lesson into the following 5 short segments. First, understanding how different ingredients should be tabulated, and then knowing where to find pricing for ingredients. Determine how to calculate quantities of each ingredient and convert those quantities from purchase quantity to recipe measurement. Determine yield weight of ingredients, and finally, complete the calculations and decide the best way for you to calculate. I find that much of what makes a restaurant financially successful is realistic preparation. In this case, knowing what the realistic number is for what you will be spending on food. So, let's make sure you have the right sources and get that number too accurate. Let's dive into some of those basics. Let's be honest. Many individuals use the term food cost to describe many things. Sometimes you're given a percentage. Sometimes they tell you a round number. We will start with the smallest possible function. This will be the basics for these 5 lessons. There are several items needed in order to reach the ultimate formula for food cost. There are many components to creating the final product. In order to accurately calculate the total cost, we need to understand where money goes at each step of the way. So, we start with the price of each ingredient. We find out what it costs to make any prep recipe, like a big batch of 20 pounds of ground beef. We then figure out how much 6 ounces of that ground beef recipe costs, along with any other ingredients that might go on that plate. In doing so, we know the dollar amount and percentage that a plate costs us. Finally, once we know all of those numbers and some operational numbers, we can get our food cost. Ultimately, these lessons will focus on the first 4 formulas. We can work on your operations to improve the rest. For simplicity, we will use one of Julian's dishes in all of the courses. This is one of his grandmother's recipes that we will cost and convert from a home-style recipe card to a restaurant-proof one. Dashes and handfuls depend on the user. For that reason, we will shift recipes to universal forms of measurements. As you can see, some of the language and quantities changed. Here, he has a recipe for rice, one for picadillo, and one for the adobo. In the next video, we will talk about these changes and how we decided upon each form of measurement.